All right, we are back. Play it forward. Martin Sandlin, writer, director, Three Stations. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very happy to have you on the show. I really enjoyed your film. It's a very conceptual piece. It's a very thoughtful piece. It's a very aggressive, angry, um, also very sensitive piece. And I want to hear all about it. And I want to hear about you and the inside world of Martin Sandlin as it relates to this film. So the first question is, what gave you the internal motivation idea? What was that little germinal seed inside of you that said, okay, I want to write, direct, and shoot this?
I've been a long time making advertisement videos and working with video content, but someday along that way, I said to myself, I have to make something for myself. I have to really try to articulate a story. So I started filming my little brother like 10 years ago. And every time I had a chance to film something, I do it. And one day I was like, well, I have a lot of material, but it doesn't make any sense. I mean, I know how to shoot, I know how to edit, but I don't know how to tell a story.
Mm.
So it has been a long time that I've been with those materials. And one day I was in the subway traveling, and I was listening to a guided meditation, those instant peace kind of thing. And I thought to myself, well, maybe if all the three characters that I have can be on a subway and can be united by this kind of voiceover guided meditation, I could give some sense to all of this. And at the time, I was like really trying to make something that wasn't just work, wasn't just shooting and editing events or commercial videos. And I really wanted to make something more meaningful. So I really start digging up what was this idea of the meditation and how can I relate these three stories. So I came along, I don't know if it's a like a philosophical study or something, but there's a guy named Johann Galtung, which is a Norwegian thinker, I guess, and he talks about the violence in three ways. And I was like very attracted to this idea, to the idea of violence, as opposed to a peace guided meditation, right? And I don't know if it was because of myself at that time, or the context in Argentina where I was living, or maybe everything that led me to work this idea of violence in general. And this guy says that there are three, I don't want to misquote him, but it's something like there are three kinds of violence. There's like a cultural violence, a structural violence, and a direct violence. And the way I saw it was like there's a violence that has to do with the world we live in, the system we live in, that doesn't affect us directly, but it does in a certain way. There's a direct violence where I can get robbed, assault, or I can assault or rob someone. And then there is like a cultural violence that has to do with our beliefs, that some of them are can be harmful in different ways. So as I had three characters, I thought about three stations, which are also the three stations of time: past, present, and future, and assigned each character these different kinds of violence. So the first character, she's my sister, and she works with people in need in neighborhoods in Argentina. So I work along her all this idea about the structural violence, no, inequality and those kinds of things. And then with the second character, which was my girlfriend, everyone was like my brother, sister, you know, first films are like that. And with her, I worked the direct violence. She gets assault in the film, and there's no much to it. And the third character, he was he's my little brother, and with him I worked the last kind of violence, which is that violence, structural one, cultural one, sorry, that is among ourselves. with our own beliefs, and it is represented by him blowing up this train, but in a metaphorical way, is this snake eating him also. And in the end, he has this option of blowing or not this bomb. And the kind of idea there was that all these violences are like a chain, no? Violence is like a chain. A dog bites a man, the man arrives his home, hits his children, the children go and hits the bird. And it is maybe within us to stop that. And well, I don't want to get too much into the psychological thing of violence, and I'm not an expert. It was not a message, it was more an exploration. But that was like my inspiration, no? To treat this subject, which is violence, and embrace it in the theme of a guided meditation. Having said that, it really was more about doing something for myself and trying to tell a story, and not just shoot videos for big brands or small brands or whatever. So yeah.
Well, it's really cool. I mean, I think the exploration of what the subject matter is and the way it relates to everyone, and, the final kind of statement of, know your name is human, and that is a part of what we are, in this idea of meditation, and the sarcasm that to me seems to be there with the sort of guidance. It's, I think it's fearful for it to explore our own violence, and yet, this guided meditation usually leads to a peaceful place, but it's also, in that way sarcastic, but it's, I think, a offer to the audience to self-reflect. And you know that to me is the message, which is my second question, so I don't want to get in there too much and muddy that water up. But I think, you know with so that's what, like, one layer of why you made this movie, right? And then
Yeah.
below that there's a layer, like, okay, well, what is in your psychology, in your experience, in your heart, in your worldview, in your inner world, that attracted you to that theme, to exploring that theme, and to try to reconcile somehow with it.
Well, I think that, as you were saying very accurately just a couple of seconds ago, I think that maybe trying to these characters trying to find some peace makes them go deeper into their darkness. I mean, sometimes to reach the end of the tunnel, you had to go through the tunnel, and well, maybe I have been I had been a little bit literal with this. I mean, I'm my background is as a cameraman, so I really don't have like the ideas or the techniques of writing. And I started learning how to write, and everywhere I saw that there has to be a conflict for it to be a story. I mean, a conflict not in a sense of something bad, but in a sense of something changing a character, or twisting something that starts into something else. And within the search of peace, I only found the opposite of peace as violence. And for these characters to question their own, well, it's really a different. There are really three little stories within a bigger story, because each one has a different search and experience. But I can relate them all to this idea that to search for peace, you first have to get deep into the mud
Right.
and go through the tunnel.
Well, that's great, man. And that sort of, I think,
Sorry to
uh
interrupt you, man. It's, a last thing I want to add is there's a phrase that I think is very accurate, that if you want peace, get prepared for war. You cannot like aim for being clean if you don't want to see first what's not clean, what's there. I mean, it's not about perfection or being peaceful or clean. It's just looking to your own darkness, I think, and and accepting it
Yeah.
within certain limits. No, the kid had the chance to make something terrible or not.
Yeah.
And I think I want to think that he had the chance in the short film to not blow everything up, and that is like is left open to the audiences to see for themselves.
Right, right. Well, I think that answers the second question is what's the message of the film? And I mean, we could talk a little bit more about that if you like, but to me, the first thing that comes to mind, which is what you said, I mean, that's, I think, the message of it. But the end, that end phrase really ends on a note of no matter what you do, there is some quality of acceptance because of your own humanity, you know, and that's a very, evolved, enlightened, beautiful message to share. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that that particular phrase has to do with um, no matter the self you present to society, you're still a human, or no matter how evolved or sophisticated your mask or your role or your identification with yourself is, deep down, you are like an ant or a worm or an eagle or a planet. No, it's like we are, I don't want to get spiritual.
Do it. Do it. Go. Why not?
Not that much, man. I mean, it's like that. I mean, you can, if you really removed every layer,
Yeah.
you're just bones.
Right. Yeah.
No, I mean, not in a pessimistic way. On the contrary, I mean, I think it really has to do with, and it's also a very calmful thought to know that no matter how much good or evil you have done, you're still bones, and if you're still alive, you are a functioning part of this ecosystem. And I think that phrase has to do with that. No matter who you are, in English, I think it's something like no matter who you are or who you think you be, or yeah, um, you're human.
Yeah.
And human in that sense, no, in the sense of a planet, of a worm, of a sapiens Neanderthal. No?
Yeah. You're part of it all. You're connected to everything.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And with the layer of judgment removed,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
is
That's
no
right.
better, there's no worse, there's just that equality,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and I
Exactly.
think that's peace, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that's
Exactly.
peace.
Exactly.
Um, Last question. After making this movie, how have you been changed?
That's a good one. Well, first, I learned. I think that I had a lot to learn. Really, still, at least in what is filmmaking and process of telling a story. And it also changed me in a way that I needed to keep on this path of trying to share things, not just for work or for surviving or for money or for acceptance or whatever, but because it just feels good, and to be able to share something that is not necessarily work, or yeah, it's not necessarily work. And yeah, and I also learned that it is important when to be able to finish something, because I had a really hard time trying to finish it. I really get obsessive with details and stuff, and it was a problem that I also deal in my work. It was like, hey man, this is the final version number 16. Could you
Right,
please finish this? I mean, it's the same. And with this, it was even harder because as it was a personal thing, it was like never ending story.
right,
And finally, it was the short film itself that was telling me, stop. The more you touch me, the more I'm starting to get worse, and I have to be my own. And now I don't think really that it's something that it's mine. I mean, it's mine in a way, but it's independent. I don't know. It's strange, but it's kind of a feeling. It's his, or I think this in general of all artworks, that once they are once they are born, let's say for that, they are already independent in a way. I imagine a kid,
Yeah,
you can teach him, you can say don't do that and that, but he's another person, and
entity.
it's
Yeah.
something similar, no, with these things. Then the audiences or the people interpret sorry the film not as you want, but as they can, and that makes it not more something of your own thing.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Martin Sandlin, Argentinian filmmaker. You got to keep rocking some movies and keep directing stuff because you've got this great, unique combination of those two forces, that are battling in all of humanity, and you have that really, sensitive, gentle touch to guide it to a place of resolution. So, definitely we need to hear more from you.
Thank you very much, Konstantin.
It was a pleasure to meet you, man. We'll keep you posted and all the best. And all right, till next time we meet.
Okay, I wanted to add very quickly that
Yeah,
I'm nowadays in the process of a feature. So when I have something showable, I will
awesome.
get to you. Maybe.
I look forward to it.
See.
I look forward to it. Definitely. We'll share it. All
Great.
right, Martin. Take
Thank
it
you very
easy.
much.
Till next time. Bye. Thank you, everybody, for being on the show.